Hi, you guys. Welcome to this masterclass. For those of you who are new to me, I am Willow Bradner of willowbradner.com. And today we are going to speak about energy, and we're going to speak about time and sort of the expansion of both of them. And not just how to create it, but as well how to manage it, because I think a lot of us are probably not always in clear management of our time and our energy. So this class should totally help you guys manage clear and create the time and the energy that you need so that you can continue to grow and expand your lives, your desires, and go for the things that you ultimately want. So I wanted to take just a little second and say as well today, Rise Unlimited just went live, so you can go in and begin to purchase if you're interested in getting into the 12-week workshop. There's 3 different tiers, so let money not be the issue. Let rather the experience be the reason that you sign up. And what that experience really entails is over the course of 12 weeks, what you're going to feel, what you're going to shift, and how you're going to sort of rise unlimited into the desires that you ultimately want. So over 12 weeks, you get 5 different modules. And I expanded it to 12 weeks because I really think that it's important to have time. So since we're in time and energy, I want to mention that it's really important to feel like you have enough time and to not feel rushed or raced to understand and to process some of the changes that are happening. Why I started this program, Rise, and what it's really about is I had joined in all of these different business groups. I had signed up for all these programs that were going to show me how to strategically create a structure for business, but none of them were doing the inside job. And I think so many of us want desperately to create business for ourselves. We want desperately more for our lives in business. But what stops us ultimately is this inner critic that sort of runs the show often. So it's learning how to really trust in your intuition and raise your intuitive glass ceiling up a notch so that you're not just attuning to the inner critic, so that you're not stuck in fear, so that you're not stuck in comparison, so that you're not struggling in self-doubt, but rather like really up-leveling yourself to believe in the truth of who you are and what you're able to have. And with Rise Unlimited, we're really ripping off the structure and the band-aids that we've grown up with. We're removing the coping skills. We're removing sort of the spaces and the confines in which we've been kept in and sort of smushed down. So many of us want to get big. We want to get loud. We want to be these extravagant, exuberant human beings that we know we are on the inside. But we have voices inside telling us that we're not allowed. And so what I've noticed in the business world is everybody's really good at selling you money, really good at selling you structures, really good at selling you strategies, really great at showing you how to build a package for your life that could potentially make money. But none of them are speaking to the inner critic. None of them are really breaking down the actual barriers that will actually keep you from success. And I'm not saying their systems are better or my system's better. Rather, they're 2 separate ideas altogether. This is the inside game. In the book, Think and Grow Rich, it's mentioned in that book that any person who chooses to go into entrepreneurship is really the ultimate spiritual warrior. Because no one who doesn't want to go through the fire of themselves and really work past their ego is really going to want to go into this whole entrepreneurship world. But I feel like if we're prevented from doing the things that we really want, even if you're up-leveling your career, if we're prevented from doing that for any reason in here or any reason in here that says somewhere inside of you says, I'm not good enough to do that, then we have a job to do. Then we have work to do, right? So I invite you guys to check out Rise Unlimited. As the doors have opened today, you can go to willowbradner.com/rise. In the 12 weeks, you get 5 one-to-ones with me, should you choose the platinum ring. So that's 5 individual psychic readings, energy clearings with me. As well, you get 5 Q&A, no matter what package you show up for. You get 5 group Q&As in a structure like this where we all meet online. But so often in this program, you're only going to be with me during those Q&As because not everybody structures their lives around it. And I give 2 options per the day of. So you get the morning option and the evening option. So that really breaks the group up enough that you might be only sharing time with one other person and you might just get me all to yourself. So those are really, I think, such a bonus to the program. There's such accountability with it. And then you get, of course, the workbook and the worksheets that go with this that really help you peel apart these layers and ask yourself the questions that you wouldn't ask yourself naturally, but you run into when you're going into business, when you're going into up-level your career, you run into these questions. And so instead of you having to run into them later, once you're like 5 miles down the road, instead, I'm just going to give you these questions right now so that we can start getting to the truth and the heart of who you are and what it is that you're really after and what you want, so that you can be successful right away in business without having to go through the pains and the suffering of the inside job. You can go straight from here to buying the structure, to making the money, to creating the life that you want. So with that, you also get 5 different meditations per module. And those meditations really help you to develop the sort of muscle memory in your brain, the new neuro sort of pathway that we're reinventing here as we're stripping away certain aspects of your being that no longer fit into what it is that you want. We're replacing it with these meditations. We're replacing these ideas and these notions with you and who you are. Along with that, there's yoga and there's mantras, and there's just this great structure there that will really set you up and build the muscle of trust for who you are and what it is that you want. So without further ado, let's join into this masterclass. Let's get into what is energy and what is time. And I'm going to sit here for a sec and share my screen with y'all. And there we go. Play this. So energy and time, we're going to expand this idea of energy and time and build up the energetic boundaries. Now, this is super important. And why I'm doing these masterclasses is because this is an inside look. This is insider trading information as to what it would be like to be inside Rise and what it's like to work with me ultimately. So energy and time. Today I announced the winner, and I want to say again, should she be watching this, Isabel Cousins, congratulations. You are the winner of Rise Unlimited Platinum Program. P.S. for anybody watching, there will be more winners. Don't you worry. I am just a little too excited about this program to only give one away. So let's learn how to grow time and energy and learn how to manage your personal energy by saying yes to the things that you want and no to the things that are no longer serving. As well, we'll learn how to manage your time and prioritize intuitively what you actually need to do. That's a really important word, like learning how to use your intuition to create the priorities instead of the ego. We're going to learn how to manage your time. Sorry, I just said that. Create energetic boundaries with people, large groups, and life suckers. It's true, right? We all have those life suckers and those big groups that might drain your energy versus give you energy. So we'll learn about that. And then learn how to sort of, there's a switch in your intuition, and I call it the battery operating system, like ways to turn your battery down and your battery up so that you're not draining your battery, being super intuitive like an antenna all the time. So that's a good energy healer. And then understand how much time and energy your ego is wasting all the time. Okay, so we're going to learn how to manage your personal energy by saying yes to the things you want and no to the things that are no longer working. And this is really an energy building / intuitive experience and experiment that I want to take you through. So if you've joined in other masterclasses, you know that I love to do a meditation inside the masterclass. This one's a little bit different. This one's a little bit more just feeling it out. So don't let your mind wander. Really do your best to stay present within this experience, because the truth is we say yes so often to obligations and things that we don't want to do, right? And we often say no, or I don't have time for, or I'm not allowed to do the things that I want to do. And the more we understand the difference between what we're saying yes to and how it feels, and the things that we're saying no to and how that feels, the easier it is to touch in and tap in with our intuition so that we can really start organizing and prioritizing our lives and our energy for the yes, I want to do it, and the no, that doesn't feel good. Okay, so let's get started. I want you to just sit back wherever you are. If you're watching this from your office, that's okay. Just kind of close your eyes or look down at something simple while you pay attention to this. And the bigger thing is just to feel this out. Imagine you're putting your hand on your belly. This is your solar plexus, the space between your rib cage and above your belly button. Hand on rib cage. And close your eyes if you can. And I want you to just feel the difference here. I want you to feel this and see what sense you get from this, okay? Your boss asks you to stay late. Now, this is if you're employed by somebody else, and if you're not employed by somebody else, just imagine somebody's asking you to stay late to do something that might be out of your wheelhouse. Your boss asks you to stay late and take care of some things. Feel the yes and feel the no. So the yes being, does it feel obligatory? Like you have to stay at work and do this overtime thing out of obligation? Or does it feel like, yes, I love to stay late and work overtime. I love extra money. How does that yes feel? Yes as icky or yes as empowered? Next. In that same section, your boss asks you to stay late and take care of some things and you say no. Does no feel like the energy is drained out of you and you feel a little bit weak to stand up to your boss and say no? Or do you feel like, hell no, fuck you, I am not staying late tonight, I have a life, bitches? Feel the difference in those no's. Does one leave you disempowered and one leave you empowered? Let's feel which no you feel. Next, you have an older relative that calls and they want you to come over and help sort through their basement of junk. How does yes feel? And how does no feel? And again, notice, is yes obligatory? Or is it, I love going through grandma's junk and I can't wait to find things? Or is it, no, I don't want to. Shoot, you know I'm going to end up saying yes and I'm going to have to go and I feel obligatory and my energy is just drained and the no's not real. Or is it, no, grandma, you put all that crap in your basement, you dig it out. I'm not going. No being in that one, empowered. So how are you feeling in those yes, no's? And again, we're just tuning your intuition into this idea. You have a spouse that has invited you to their barbecue with a work colleague on your one day off. Does it feel like you want to go or like you don't want to go? So if you were to say yes to your spouse and you're going to go to the work thing, are you doing it out of obligation or even in trade for what you think they'll be able to pay you back for the next time? Like, yes, I'll go because I owe him or they're going to owe me next. How's that yes feel? Or does it feel like, yes, I love my spouse's work colleagues. We're going to have the best time and I'm going to drink my face off and we're going to have so much fun. How's that yes feel? Or is it a hard no? I don't want to go. I'm so tired and I want to lay in a bath and I just want to be by myself and you go hang out with your work colleagues. I'm not up for it. Or is it the other no? The no where all the energy drains out of you and you feel weak and you know you're going to change your mind and say yes. Just notice that. Last, someone offers you an all-inclusive week on the beach at the perfect temperature for you with all the amenities that suit your wildest desires. Yes? Does that feel obligatory? Or yes, when can I leave and where is the plane ticket? I'm ready. My bags are packed. Let's go. Yes. Or is it no, and all the energy drains out if you were to say no to this? Or is it, no, I'm good. I don't love a beach and I can totally stay at home and hang out with myself. That would be better. Now, I just want you to feel these out. You can open your eyes and just sort of come back in. I just want you to notice where you are energetically on those yeses and nos, because that's really telling how much energy you're spending on yes and how much energy you're spending on no. And when you ask yourself, what do you want? When somebody says, do you want to do blankety blank? begin to give yourself the time to answer yes and no to these. Because if you're honest and you honor your energy and you honor yourself with the truth, you will not lose energy anymore. You'll have more time and more energy for the things that you love. And this is how you intuitively manage your time and prioritize what you actually need and want to do. The more you tap in to this space inside of yourself and say yes and no and see how those two feel, the more you can start really creating a lot of time and energy for your life by saying no to the things you don't want. Now, we all have obligations. We all have to do the dishes. We all have to do laundry. We all have to sometimes see relatives that we don't want to see. But with this yes-no manufacturing system, we can say, no, I don't want to go to Aunt Deborah's, but why don't I want to go to Aunt Deborah's? Is it because she's a pain in the ass or because she doesn't have the right food? And how do I transition this into a yes? You can make energy by seeing what the yeses are versus the nos and seeing what you can do to actually bring in energy for you. Bring in food, bring a friend, bring a buffer, bring something that makes you feel more energized versus just obligatorily showing up and having to give all your energy away. Does that make sense? So this is something that I get asked a lot. And so I wanted to put it in here because I think it's a good point. And it's that we do need to create energetic boundaries in our lives because there are people, there are group situations, and there are actual life suckers out there. In the spiritual community, a lot of people want you to put a magical bubble around your being, and that's going to keep you from bad people. It's going to keep you from bad situations. It's going to protect you. And you know what I think about protection is that it's just like a condom. It's like 99.9% okay if you put it on right. But 9 times out of 10, we're putting on protection spiritually and otherwise, and we're not actually doing it right. We don't actually have the right intentions around it. And the assumption that we have to protect ourselves from energy is also the same assumption and intention that we assume and imagine that there's bad energy out there. So to clarify this, you don't have to protect yourself from bad energy because you could also imagine that there is not bad energy out there. Okay? So the less you attune your energy to the bad energy, the less likely it is that you're going to step in it. I want to just be real clear about that energy right there, okay? But there are people out there that'll suck your energy. Now, that's not good or bad. That is how they operate. They don't know how to fill themselves up from the inside out. They don't know how to ground into the earth. They don't know how to draw energy up and into their body. They don't know how to validate for themselves. They don't know how to feel good without outside information, okay? So they're always going to drain your battery. So you just have to turn your battery way low when you're hanging out with the life-sucking people. So when you're with somebody who's a Debbie Downer, and I'm sorry I keep using the Deb word, if you're a Debbie Downer, if you're a person who, or if you're hanging out with somebody who drains your battery, who sucks the life out of the room, who is absolutely a negative in your life, you have choices. A, stop hanging out with them. B, if they're in your workspace and you can't get away from them, or they're in your family and you can't get away from them, then you turn your battery all the way down. See, our operating system says if something's broken, I have to fix it. But in the case of energy, the opposite is actually true. If you want to keep your energy and your time intact, then you turn everything off and you can hang out in the space of without picking up or getting sucked out. Give them nothing but just show up. That's the best advice and information I can give you with energy. There are people who do carry energy bugs. What this means is when I just said you don't have to protect yourself energetically because there's not a lot of negative out there is true. The less attuned you are to the negative energy, the less likely it is that they're going to stick on you. And what I want to say is that even if you are somebody who happiness does not come really easily and naturally to, you want to up your vibes to at least pretend that you are happy, okay? Because even the pretend happy is better than the low on-vibed happy. So energy bugs cannot stick to high vibe. High vibe being happy, high vibe being joy, high vibe being really great music, high vibe being the food that you're putting in your body. If you're drinking water and you're eating green food, even if you can't get out of depression, even if you can't totally get out of the yuck and the funk that you might be living in, if you are at least putting really good high vibes inside your body, it'll detract anything from being able to stick to you. As well, the music that you're listening to, the television that you're watching, the books that you're reading, and the people that you're hanging out with, all of those are vibrations, right? So the higher vibration you're hanging out with and the higher vibration you're putting in your body, the more energy you're creating and the bigger boundary you're making for yourself. But at the end of the day, happiness, joy, laughter is the best medicine to change your vibes. So if you have a song that can be your anthem for any low vibe time in your life, pump that up, okay? Pump it up, turn that music on. Play that funky white boy music, right? Whatever that song was. Try to turn that stuff up, okay? And then as well, even with humans, check that yes-no vibe. With humans, you can check that yes-no. Is this somebody who drains my energy? Yes or no? And see how you feel it. If you notice right away a resistance from going someplace, ask yourself if it's the energy of the space, yes or no. Start seeing how your intuition works for you. We have a ton of time and energy. And I can say this as a parent because I assumed and imagined that I was always out of time before I became married and had a child. And now I have more time than I ever had. And I run 2 businesses as well. I have a full household and I have more time than I ever had. Like if I knew what time equaled before children and husband, I would more than have a PhD because I would have had so much time on my hands. But so many of us don't have a relationship with the abundance of time and energy, and we don't know how to use it properly. And this is why so many of us are coping all the time with our energy and our time. What this means is we are fast forwarding our lives outside of the present moment. We are future casting things that haven't happened yet. We're getting in comparison and messed up because we're not where we think we should be, or we think somebody else's life is better. So we judge ourselves and we criticize ourselves and we criticize our lives because we assume somebody else has it easier. So we spend time outside of our current present moment when we're in comparison. We future cast things that haven't happened yet. So say you are applying for a job, okay? Say you're applying for a job and you're waiting for that job's information to come in. So many of us will future cast ourselves into a place where either we have that job and now we're overwhelmed and we don't actually want the job, or we future cast into the somebody else got the job and they chose somebody else and I'm going to tell myself a story about why they screwed me when I didn't get that job. Instead of being right here, right now, in the present where you don't have the job, you have time to look for something else. You can create more avenues and opportunities for yourself in the time that you have today versus sitting here looking way out into the future and wondering how somebody's going to mess you up, right? Because we don't usually future cast with positivity. We don't sit around going, when I win the lottery or when I get to go on vacation. No, we go to the bad neighborhood with our memories. We go to the bad neighborhood when we future cast. So we want to stay here where we can actually look around the room and see what we have in this moment right now. So if you find yourself future casting or comparing your life to somebody else's, the best thing that you can do is stop, breathe, and start taking stock of what you have right now. Stop, breathe, take stock of what you have right now. And that'll get you totally out of comparison and totally out of the future casting. And then if you realize the time that you have, maybe start creating the things that you want so you don't have to compare. Start applying for the things that you want so you don't have to wait for something better to come. Start making the better you're waiting for, okay? Next, we love to spend a lot of time and energy controlling other people. Now, if you're married, I think you'll understand this right away. If you have friends, family, you may be also doing this. And it starts with expectations and judgment, both. And I'll start with this story because it's the best way to explain what this means. After we had our first child, my husband and I moved to a really nice country house. And it was my assumption then that he was going to be very happy because I had given up the city house and we'd moved to the country and he had the perfect garage and the perfect everything and he was going to be just so happy. Except for that he wasn't. He wasn't happy to my expectations. He wasn't happy to the level where I assumed he should be because we had all these amazing things, and his happiness was meant to really validate the choices that we made. I needed him to be happy to validate where we lived, why we moved, and what all this meant. So after months of throwing parties, throwing myself at him naked, trying to make him happy in every capacity that I could possibly, I decided that he must have postpartum depression from our first child. And I hauled him off to the therapist, sure that the therapist was going to tell him that he needed drugs and that he was just depressed and he just needed help. And then he'd be happy and he'd validate my living out here in the country and his choices, etc. Right? So we get to the therapist's office, and instead of the therapist validating me in any way, the therapist instead said, Willow, you are trying to fix him, and you're not allowing him to process the feelings that he has. You're just trying to fix everything. And I was like, yeah, that's totally who I am. I'm a fixer. And he said to my husband, you really need to be processed and to be heard. Is that right? And my husband was like so relieved, like somebody finally heard him. And the therapist said to me, I needed to learn how to listen without fixing. And while I cried and I was offended, and it took me days to realize the truth of what the therapist was saying, what the therapist was saying was, I was spending so much time and so much energy doing all the wrong things for my husband. Because actually what my husband just wanted was simply for me to listen to him and to hear his feelings and emotions without fixing them, without doing anything, and just allow him to actually be him and do him. Now, how many of us listen to the people we love without judgment, without condition, without trying to fix them or move them or inspire them or create expectations for them? How many? Most of us are trying to control something. Most of us are trying to get them to take us out to dinner, take out the trash, and then we're mad because we created expectations without them knowing. We created judgments without them being clear about it. We created these landmines that they step in, that we're triggered around because we're not clear about who we are. And we're thinking that they're here to fill us up. And the truth is, the only person who's ever going to fill you up is you. And I know that's big information, but if you want time and energy, then it's time for you to start filling your bucket and not expecting anybody to do it for you. And if you're married or spouse-like united to somebody else who's also trying to get you to fill their bucket up, it's time to cut the codependent cord and start individually filling your own buckets up and learning how to separate your time and energy from one another so that when you are together, you can just enjoy one another. My husband and I, since realizing this, I think it's been 3 or 4 years since that moment, we do not fight. We do not have arguments about anything because we understand, appreciate, and give each other the space and the time to be and do who we are, what we want, without expectation. I think that's really huge. And again, saying yes to the things that fill you up and no to the things that don't. So your intuition being the yes, no, using this as the yes, no. Now also using it from the battery operating system of imagining that you can actually turn your battery down and your battery up. When I'm in like-minded energy, when I'm with people who flow like I flow, my battery can be full on because I'm getting energy as well as I'm giving energy. And it's a really even flow and exchange of information. But if I'm with a life sucker, if I'm in a big group, if I'm at a concert, if I'm at a Christmas party, if I'm out in the world in any way, I often turn my battery really low. And what that means is it's just the internal battery that's on. I am on the inside. My protective modality is that I just go inside. And I go really low. It's not low vibe. It's just I'm not vibrating out here. I'm vibrating in here. So I'm not sharing my vibration. I'm not sharing my energy. And this is an idea. And I know that it might be a cuckoo idea, but it's just an idea. So play with this idea that you can turn your battery in your inside up and down, and see what it is to just have too much information coming in and then turning it all the way off. And the difference in the world feels like this. When you're at home in bed by yourself with the remote control in your hands and you can control whatever you want on TV, to being outside in the world without a remote control and totally having to accept whatever's happening. Okay, that's battery all the way up, is being out in the world and being able to accept whatever's happening. And battery being way low is really just being inside the covers with the remote control, being really tiny and a little bit more in tune with you. Okay, both of them are not right or wrong. It's just notice how your body feels energetically. When I'm out in the world and I'm out of control, I have to imagine myself being inside my comforter with a little remote control, and I actually have a better sense of myself and what works for me. But if I'm out in the world and my antenna is way out here and I have no control over what's happening to me and I'm just really big in this loud space, then I'm picking up all that energy and I'm not having really enough time or space or energy for myself. Okay, I'm not getting the best information intuitively. Your ego is the one that is wasting all of your time. Your ego is the one wasting all your time and all of your energy. And if you've been a part of these other masterclasses, then you understand that your intuition is more creative and risky than your ego will ever be. Your intuition is more creative and risky than your ego will ever be, meaning that your intuition is not going to do the dishes. Your intuition is never going to fold the laundry, okay? But your ego will. So we need your ego to be intact, but we need it not running the show, right? Because the ego is constantly going to be to-do listing. It's going to judge your abilities on everything and decide that you're not allowed and you can't do it, and criticize and criticize and criticize, right? That takes up so much time, the inner judge. Notice how many times a day you notice your brain going off into the stratosphere of I'm not good enough, or I can't, or I shouldn't, or that person or this person. Start noticing the judgment. And then your ego will have you working really, really hard for what you want. Because again, the assumption is that everything that you want is really hard work. It's how we've been domesticated. It's how we've been raised in the world. It's what our system believes. So the truth is again, when you're intuitive, everything happens creatively. When you're intuitive, everything's in alignment. When you're in the embodiment of who you are, what you want, your truth, your spirit, and your intuition, kind of the world expands and you can be and do anything you want without criticism, without judgment, without fear, without self-doubt. That is the Rise Unlimited program. Your ego has you playing those future moments over and over again that you get messed up on. It has you future casting. It has you not being in the present. It has you organizing, controlling, and judging other people, as we just discussed. And last, it always is telling you you're not good enough. It's in that critical spot always. That's the ego. The ego keeps you safe, protected, and in the same cycle over and over and over again. It's wasting a bunch of time, and it's your choice. You don't have to listen to the ego. You can ignite your intuition and go back to Masterclass 1 if you missed it, so that you can actually do so. You are in charge and responsible for your time and energy, and this is such an essential message. So I'll leave you with this sort of thought. A few weeks ago, there was a hummingbird in my garage. It got stuck in my garage, this hummingbird. And if you've ever seen a hummingbird, they just flit about really quickly, right? Well, my garage door is wide open. So it's a double car garage. And the garage door is open and the hummingbird is inside and it's trapped. It thinks that it's trapped. So as the hummingbird is flying around in the top of the garage, and I'm laughing, I'm watching this poor little hummingbird, and it is just freaking out, this hummingbird. And I finally decide that this is how all of us are in our energy. This is how we are in our lives. We're like this hummingbird, right? We're flying around. This hummingbird's flying around at the top of the garage over and over and over again. The door's wide open. It won't go 1 foot down to the light. it won't come down into the light. And that's so many of us. So many of us are flying in the same pattern. And we won't go up, in this case, to see the light. We won't notice that the door is wide open. We won't make the decision that we're allowed to have what we want because we've already somehow decided and created judgment around what it is that we want and decided that we're not good enough, right? So I ask you to not just spend time in this masterclass, but begin to really ask yourself what it is that you want. How big do you want to go? Or how small do you want to stay? What gives you energy? What sucks your energy? And how much of you is playing safe and small? And how much of you is really being honest about who you are and what you want? And if you're really honest and you are really going for it, all my amens and hallelujahs, right? But if you're even a teeny fraction of a question mark on this, then I really ask you to go check out Rise Unlimited. And if you so choose, if it's just easier to want to make a phone call, I'm a phone call away right now. So if you have any curiosity on Rise Unlimited, I'm here for you. All you have to do is pick up the phone and call me, and all that information is also on the website, so go check it out. And we can do a free call together. It's a free 30-minute, just look at each other, see how it feels to work together, see what the program feels and looks like between you and I. Because I don't believe that there's one size fits all in this category. And that's why I work one-to-one with people. That's why I've created the way that I have, because I believe we're meant to be together. Not you and me per se, but we as human beings, we're meant to be together. We're not meant to do this shit alone. We're not meant to DIY alone. We're meant to work with other people. We're meant to, especially this work, we are meant to work through this crap, not alone, but together. It takes somebody sometimes holding the flashlight for you as you forge up the dark path. And that's what I'm here to do. I'll hold the flashlight for you. I'll show you the fucking open door. That psychically is what I do. I show you the door. I show you what's possible for you. I show you who you are innately, and I see you. And just like that therapist said to my husband and me so many years ago, he just needs you to listen. And so for you, that's what I do. I listen, and I see you, and I get to know you. And we work together on that. So again, visit me at willowbradner.com/rise. If you have any questions, book an appointment with me. I'm here for you. Lots of love, you guys. I hope to see you inside the program. If not, the next masterclass. Thanks so much. Bye, you guys.